Ishikawa Yoshida stood at the end of the conference table and leaned into it with both hands supporting her. She glanced at the team of lawyers lined up on either side and finally landed her gaze upon the gentleman at the other end.
Have you seen the photos of the rubble at my family home?
Ishi paused and closed her eyes. It had been 6 months since the fire, but she could still feel the heat radiating from the site, still smell the charred beams and shingles and furniture and beds and clothing and bodies. She picked up her father's hat.
Have you seen the charred remains?
She closed her eyes and dropped her head. She fought the urge to crumble into a sobbing heap, as she had many times throughout the trial. She continued.
The photos of the charred remains of 3 skeletons? Do you remember those photos?
She pulled 3 photos from her vest.
Well, these are the people those skeletons carried through their shortened life. My father, my beautiful mother, and my brother. Look, Christian Rourke murdered this precious family. He would have killed me too.
Again she paused. She returned the photos to her pocket. She clutched her father's felt hat. Her hands twisted the felt as if squeezing her father's sweat from the fibers. Ishi continued.
Should have killed me too.
She shook her head.
But I was too bored. I had to sneak out and find other trouble. I was supposed to be there. Instead, I'm here to defend them. Defend my family's legacy.
She remembered a meeting with the vice president of Oraco Pharmaceuticals. He tried to explain why the company had recently required all employees to sign a new employment agreement. A document with "File Copy" stamped in red sat in front of her. Mr. Masaru Yoshida's perfect handwriting at the bottom. She looked out at the team in front of her. Her voice was soft.
Have you seen the agreement that allows Rourke to steal my father's brilliant work now that he is dead?
She stood tall, turned sideways, and squinted. She growled.
Doesn't matter what it says. My father never signed that. You've also seen the way he signs important documents, the Japanese way. What more proof could anyone possibly need?
She pounded both fists onto the table.
You know he's guilty. Everyone knows. If there is justice in this world, Rourke will rot in prison.
The prosecutor stood.
Miss Yoshida, please have a seat.
He motioned to the chair behind her.
Nearly 2 weeks of very intense testimony is now behind us. We have exhausted every effort to show the jury what a monster Rourke truly is. I'm sure the truth will shine through, and the good people of the jury will bring you justice.
He explained the possible outcomes. Guilty of murder in the first, guilty of manslaughter, guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. He must have mentioned the possibility of innocent, but Ishi only had ears for guilty. She only cared that this depraved monster would walk the rest of his miserable life in a smelly, grungy dungeon. There could be no other outcome. The verdict. Ishika stared at the granite stones of the courthouse patio. She sat on a wood-slatted bench as she had every day for 4 straight days. Her right heel throbbed up and down like the bobbin on her sewing machine. A moment earlier, she received a text message, straightforward, "Return to court." She read the text over and over. She leaned back on the bench and gazed out over the well-manicured courtyard.
So, is this finally it? Is there a verdict, or does the jury have more questions?
There had been questions the day before. She received a text then, too.
What did that one say?
She browsed up in the message thread.
Return to court. Same message. So, maybe more questions, but maybe a verdict.
She gazed off into the distance, squinting into a grimace.
He's guilty. I know they see that.
But that knot in her stomach warned caution.
Maybe not guilty. Maybe they don't see it. Maybe the scum, Rourke, will get away with this obscene crime.
The prosecutor trotted up the steps and past Ishika.
Let's go, Miss Yoshida. Verdict is in.
Ishii hurried into her assigned position, the pew directly behind the prosecution team. She clutched her father's felt hat, one of the few personal items that remain. He wore it when he spent time on the property, gardening, bird-watching, or simply thinking. He kept it in the shed behind the house. Ishii could close her eyes and imagine him with a garden spade in hand, a grin on his cheeks, and the hat folded up away from his eyes. She leaned forward, placing her elbows on her knees, and scrunched her eyes.
He's guilty. He's guilty. He's guilty.
She whispered repeatedly, as if she could will it so. The bailiff entered the courtroom and announced the jury has come to a decision after 4 days and 2 hours of deliberation. He walked over to the judge's chambers and opened the door. Judge Thompson hurried into her seat behind her gavel stand.
There is another inquiry? Please bring in the jury.
The jury is escorted to their assigned seats. The jury foreman stood and said,
We are deadlocked, with no hope for resolution.
The judge scowled and shook her head.
Is there any chance further deliberation may prove beneficial? If there is any chance for a unanimous decision, I prefer that you go back and work on this further. Is there any documentation or transcript that could help with the process?
Your Honor, we have no hope of breaking this deadlock. Both sides of this story are dug in. I'm sure there is no hope of changing any minds.
Judge Thompson said.
The seriousness of this case is such that we can leave no possibility unexplored. With this in mind, I'm going to suggest a few additional thoughts for continued deliberation.
The court was silent, every ear strained in anticipation of the new instructions. She continued.
Spend a few minutes examining your conscience and discuss the details again with your fellow jurors. If there is any chance that your honest belief can change without compromising your judgment, this needs to be considered seriously.
A quiet lull hung over the proceedings while the judge examined the eyes of each individual juror.
I ask that you return to the jury room and continue your deliberation with these comments in mind. I warn you not to consider any individual part of any instruction while ignoring others. This process cannot be rushed. The court will adjourn until further notice.
The judge turned to the prosecutor.
I would like to have a meeting with both attorneys in my chambers.
The bailiff opened the door at the front left corner of the courtroom and signaled for the 2 attorneys to enter. The court cleared, except for Ishii. After a short meeting, the lawyers re-entered the courtroom. They quietly conferred for a few moments, then separated and moved to their respective benches. Ishii approached the prosecutor, not so patiently. She had questions.
What does this mean? He's going to get out of it?
Miss Yoshida, I don't know any more than you do at this point. If you'll excuse me, the judge has given me instructions and I have preparations to make. This is in the jury's hands right now. Let's wait for the decision.
He hurried out of the courtroom. Ishii paced up and down the long hallway outside the courtroom. Images jumbled through her thoughts, memories of her family, images of her bedroom before the fire, the charred rubble after the fire, the smug look on Rourke's face as he was escorted out to await the deliberation results. No logical sequence, no internal conversation, just a stream of images. She couldn't focus on grieving or anger or even nervous anticipation. She was blank, empty. A water fountain hung on the wall outside the entrance to the restroom area. Ishii took a sip every lap she made from the front door back to that end of the hallway. She counted the tiles on the floor between the water fountain and the front door. 72. After a while, she couldn't drink anymore. She wandered out the front door and stood at the edge of the stairs down to street level. Before she could take even a single step, the announcement came that the jury was ready. It had been only 4 hours since the break, but to Ishii, it was as if no time had passed. She turned back to the large glass doors and walked back to her seat. The bailiff stood at the judge's chambers. He announced, "All stand!" The judge entered, and called for the jury. The jury is reseated. The foreperson again announced a deadlock. The judge leaned forward and rested on her crossed arms.
Although it pains me to do so, I have no alternative but to declare this to be a mistrial due to a hung jury.
There was a collective gasp from the audience. The judge rapped her gavel twice to get everyone's attention.
As I was saying, I am declaring a hung jury, but I expect further communication from the prosecutor about his plans for a retrial.
The prosecutor held up his hands and shook his head.
Your Honor, at this time, I feel that there would be little hope to bring this case to trial, barring any potential new developments.
The judge said,
Mr. Rourke, you are free to go.
Ishika leapt to her feet. Suddenly, the lifeless vessel of a young woman burst with passion.
This is crazy! He is guilty! How can you just let him go?
Tears stained her cheeks as she faced the prosecutor.
You know he did it. You know he killed my family. Everyone knows he did it. How can you say that you won't try him until he pays for this? He has to pay.
She pivoted to face Rourke as he was led out of the courtroom. She leered at Rourke.
You will pay for my family. You will pay.
The prosecutor avoided direct eye contact with Ishii.
I'm sorry, Miss Yoshida. There's just nothing more to present to a jury at a new trial. Please, schedule a meeting with my staff. We can make arrangements to help you deal with this situation. I know this is most difficult for you.
I don't need your help to deal with this situation.
Spittle projected from Ishii's lips as she cried out.
You promised to make him pay. You promised. I need his blood.
I promise no such thing, young lady. Please calm down. We can discuss this after you've had time to process.
She hurtled toward the prosecutor with both fists high.
You did promise.
Her teeth gritted. She tripped, getting through the swinging gate separating the gallery from the bench area. The bailiff stood behind her and grabbed her under both arms and lifted her to her feet. He wrapped his arm around her waist, preventing her from attacking the prosecutor. The judge turned and left the courtroom. The bailiff escorted Ishii from the courtroom. As they entered the long marble hall, the bailiff loosened his grip. Ishii struggled loose and swirled to face the bailiff.
Take your hands off me. I am the victim here, not the murderer. You're manhandling the wrong person. Go get Rourke.
She slumped against the wall in the large hall. She listened to several sets of footsteps echo through the long stone tunnel. Eventually it quieted. She felt finally alone. She sobbed.
Was that me in there? Did I just attack that lawyer? This is a nightmare. I can't even figure out what's real. It's all wrong.
She pressed her clenched fists against her jaw.
One thing is real. My family is gone. He must pay.
Miss Yoshida?
She startled and sprang to her feet. The hall tilted. Blackness edged in from the periphery of her vision. A young man stood beside her, maybe 25, wearing a faded suit jacket and a black tie loosened and the top button of his shirt undone. He held a manila folder pressed against his chest. Eyes wide, he retreated a step when he saw the shocked expression on her face.
What is it?
She yelled, her voice echoing off marble.
I'm sorry, Miss Yoshida. I didn't mean to scare you.
Her knees wobbled. The overhead lights became distant pinpoints.
I can't.
Total darkness.